and you're streaming to your channel also?
I sure am. Yeah, Facebook and X. I just
Oh,
recently started streaming things to Facebook, so we'll see how that goes.
oh, really?
Yeah.
If you get a good if it works, let me know, please, because I'm curious. Like for getting the word out, like for
Yeah,
reaching into broader crypto to
exactly.
bring people onto Pulsechain. That's my goal. So anything that works for you, let me know.
Yeah, yeah. I think for Facebook, it's even outside of crypto more than people that are in
Sure.
crypto and not in Pulse Chain. Like most of Facebook doesn't crypto, from my experience, So it's like trying to grab their attention.
Yeah. Well, this is our first time streaming. I'm excited to be on stream with you. Met you at the Pulse conference in March. Yeah,
Mhm.
March 6th through 9th.
Yep.
And that was a blast. And I want to talk about that in just a minute. But
Sure.
first, I think it would be appropriate for us to know a little bit about you. Like what, just quickly, like 30 seconds, like your background, where you're from, all that stuff. Anything you're willing to share.
Sure. Goodness. 30 seconds, huh? All right. um,
Just
well,
whatever.
yeah. So I grew up in Southern California and then became an Austinite. I lived in Austin for the last 16 years. Just moved back to California a couple years ago now. So I feel like born in California, but really raised in Austin. Like I feel like I came into my own living out in Austin, Texas. And then basically like transitioned over the years from working, like Starbucks and then desk jobs. I worked for Blizzard Entertainment. I worked for LegalZoom. And somewhere in between all that, I started looking into gardening and sustainable agriculture practices. And that changed my life. I went from working a desk job to working on a farm, went from being about 210 pounds to over the years, much less and less than that. What else? And then being someone who, grew up, I was like the last generation that grew up without a cell phone in my hand, but I've always been tech savvy, always been like super interested in, what the latest tech is. And I loved video games, having worked for Blizzard. So I've known about crypto for a long time. I knew about it when my boyfriend at the time bought drugs on the Silk Road. That was like
Okay.
Yeah. And then like years later, I decided to invest a little bit myself. And at the time, this was about 2016. At the time, I didn't pay attention to it. I just invested a tiny bit, diversified a little, like thanks to a friend who had reached out to me and been like, "Oh, hey, I saw that you're talking about Bitcoin. Why don't you take that chunk and turn it into all these other little things?" And I invested in like 5 different coins, and then walked away, like totally forgot about it, didn't look at it, probably made a bunch of money and then lost a bunch of money in the 2017 run. But I was in another world doing another thing. And then fast forward to 2021 is when like my hex journey began. So I don't know, like if you want to go into that or talk a little bit more about anything else first.
Did you buy the top like I did?
Nearly on the way up. Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
I first got in at like 12 cents.
Yeah. My first buy was 5 cents. I went back and looked it up. But then that was like a little bit. That was like my first, like, okay, let's see how this works. Let me put in like $50 and find out like what to do here. And then I think my biggest buy was at like 14 cents. And then I bought more. I bought some at 22 cents. I bought some at 30 something cents. And then by that point I was out of
fiat
powder. So
powder.
yeah. Well, yeah, because I didn't understand the concept of DCA. Like I was only doing that because of the way the system worked and the way my bank was working. So I didn't, I didn't know that Hex had already done a 10,000x. I didn't know there were cycles in crypto. I didn't know we were anywhere near the top.
Me neither.
I had no clue.
That was my entry into crypto was Hex.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No. I mean, that was it really. That same thing. Like, even though, like I said, I had bought previously, I didn't lean into it at all. I didn't know anything about crypto after having bought that, tiny bit and diversifying. I just
Yeah.
set it and forget it. And I'm so grateful that I came in through Hex, because I mean, there's no greater community. I've
Yep.
learned more in the last few years than I feel like I have in the last like 20 years, you know, just, and I love learning. Like I'm a student of the world. So it's been really great to have my mind just constantly activated. And through crypto, I've learned AI, and
Yes.
through crypto, I've started learning more about our government, and through, you know, through this community, I've learned about longevity. So it's
There you
just,
go.
it's like a never ending beautiful thing for me to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's it's good to, you know, to understand a little bit about your history and where you came from. And you are like myself and so many people that I've met in crypto that basically got in at the top.
Yep.
And didn't know anything about crypto, didn't know about market cycles, and didn't get, but we're here. We got wrecked in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you, like me, have been paying 1000% attention and dollar cost averaging probably the whole time. And I think we're about to redeem ourselves
For sure.
from all the, from a, you know, I don't know, you probably onboarded some people like I have, and some of those people are a little bit bitter, or maybe they're
I'm really fortunate that I haven't
outwardly,
had
but
too much of that experience. You know, no one I know is bitter. They're just, I think my friends and family trust me so much that they know that, you know, and I'm always updating them about things and what's going on. And, you know, really so far, no one, because the number one thing I tell people before I onboard them is you never put in more. They ask me, how much should I do? What should I do with this? Never put more than you can afford to lose. This is an absolute gamble. This could all go to zero. And you have to be fine with knowing that money is gone forever once you put it into this system. So that's how I get people not mad at me, you know, or down like this, because I was like, hey, the first thing I told you was, you are taking a risk. This is a gamble. To me, it's the surest bet I've ever made in my life. And that's why I feel so confident in it.
Right.
So
I'd like to talk about the Pulsechain conference, because I think it's important for the community to know about it. Okay, I went for the first time in March. I had a great time. I got to meet a lot of people, and you know, your network is going to be reflected in your net worth. And I got to meet people I thought I may never get to shake their hand or give them a hug or whatever. And it was so impactful for me as a community member, as a content creator. And so I mean, tell us about the conference. Like, why should people go? How, you know, I think you guys are already working on the next one. You know, talk to us about it, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spent 2 years traveling the world, putting on these events, and bless RG's heart, man. Like, those 2 years were completely out of pocket for RG. He spent his money putting on these events through a very intense bear market, because he believes that, you know, this is it for crypto, that if we don't go out there and promote true DeFi, who will? Who is? You know, like, who is out there putting in the work, talking to senators, talking to treasurers, right? And that was a big thing. Like, when we went around, we weren't just, you know, preaching to the choir, so to say, right? Of course, like,
you're talking about the Pulsechain road trip. What do you call it? What was it called?
Pulsechain Tour.
The tour. There you go.
Yeah. So it's pulsechaintour.com is the website, which we're hoping to revamp soon. But the, you know, the moral of that story was, you know, after traveling and putting that on for a while, and it being successful in that we had a lot of people who had never heard of Pulsechain hear about it, right? Me traveling around in this bus, people asked, what is this? What's Pulsechain Tour? You know, what I had both experiences, right? Where I'd have in the middle of, for example, somewhere between, like, I don't know, Portland and Salem, Oregon, I stopped at a tiny little gas station, and some kid comes running across the street. I know Pulsechain. I know Richard Hart. Like, I had that happen. And then I'd have people just, oh, is this a medical thing? Right? Because the Pulse, like, they're wondering, like, oh, are you a medical van? Like, what's going on here? So, you know, in conjunction with so basically, you know, it was successful in many ways. I can go into all that, but then also, like, at the same time, it wasn't something that was going to be sustainable financially. Didn't make sense for, you know, maybe in a bull market like the KSB team had done, right? It makes more sense to do something like that. But in a bear market, it was just like we barely made cost every single time. So what we decided to do is go ahead and just focus on the one event a year, right? Make this like the premier Pulsechain event and promote and support and encourage other people to put on your own meetups, put on your own events in your own towns. Like we are not the end all be all of, you know, Pulsechain Tour event stuff, right? Like you can do it. You can do it in your own town. If you want to talk to someone to help you set things up and get things going, please like reach out to us. There are several other people that aren't associated with our team that I know that have done events that I can connect you with. Like I want to see Pulsechain events everywhere, right? We're focusing on trying to do it big, right? It's going to be in Vegas again this year, or this next year, right? So 2026, March 6th through the 9th, same dates. You know, we're looking for our location right now in terms of our venue. We want to do another pitch fest, right? Where you pitch your project and then there's a grant awarded to you. We're looking for sponsors for that. We're looking for, you know, sponsors overall for the tour in general. We had Liquid Loans come in at the end of it, do just like kind of like nearly saved the day in terms of sponsoring. And we did the whole VIP lounge was Liquid Loans sponsored and things like that. But, you know, this time we're trying to kind of get ahead of the game, you know, and see if we can get people to get excited and start sponsoring sooner rather than later. So yeah, it's a lot of work. And even just doing this one event a year now, it takes a whole, it's gonna, like we've already started planning it all. You know what I mean? We're March, April, May, June, 3 months away from the last one we did. And we're already getting everything prepared for next year's.
You have to.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Toby? Hi.
So tell me about the expenses of the event in Las Vegas, because I know.
Yeah, you'd mentioned so in particular. So Kaylin, who artist formerly known as Black Hexagon, she goes by Crypto Culture now.
Yes.
We call her Kaylin. We love her. She is the logistics person, right? Like none of that could have gone down without Kaylin. She is absolutely cutthroat when it comes to finding a deal, getting a bargain, making it work with our budget, right? So I don't have a lot of exact numbers to give you. I can tell you that they nickel and dimed us for absolutely everything. The one cost that sticks in my head every time is those boxed lunches that were provided.
Which I had one. It was good.
$60.
How much?
$60 per day.
Like for one box lunch?
For one box lunch. $60.
Yeah, and this was like a sandwich and some cookies and a water or maybe a pop and then some old bag of chips.
Yeah.
Literally in a box.
Yeah.
$60. I think I had a guess at the time, and I don't think it was 60. Yeah. But yeah.
Let's see, you know, and people get mad at us for our ticket prices and stuff. And I've actually been since that, you know, and around that time, I've started to really pay attention at different conferences and what they provide and their ticket prices. Y'all got a deal. Let me tell you.
I would say.
It for a general admission ticket to be $369, like I'm glad that we have people that are interested in doing VIP and stuff like that, because we lost money on every general admission ticket, basically. You know, if you think about it, $60 a day on a box lunch, that's half your tickets going to your box lunch, right? That's not including the venue, the cost of electricity that they charge us for, the cost. We tried to do Wi-Fi on our own, and that failed miserably. You know, like we expected it to work well. We tested things out, and it didn't work the way we wanted it to when everything was up and running, because we were trying to not have to pay for their stupid Wi-Fi. Right. So lesson learned. I think there's a couple other options we can try next time. I heard Starlink might actually work for that. But you know, we were like every outlet that we wanted to plug into, they were going to charge us extra for that.
Wow.
Yeah, screens. If we wanted screens or speakers, like every single little
extension cords.
Extra. Exactly. Yeah.
Oxygen.
Yeah. They're all. It's what do you call it? Everything is contracted. Like you cannot, they don't want you bringing outside anything, right? It's like a conglomerate of the Las Vegas hotel. Here's a perfect example. Starbucks, this will kind of give you an idea of how Vegas runs. Any Starbucks you go to on the Vegas Strip is not owned by Starbucks. It's owned by the hotels. This is just kind of like a random like tidbit of information I found out. But that's why the drinks are so much more expensive at these Starbucks, because they are not technically Starbucks locations. They are owned and run by the hotels, so they can charge an exorbitant amount, and not stay true to the Starbucks, prices and policies. So, just take that to the whole other level with, it being in an event space and, needing the chairs, the tables, like everything costs ridiculous amounts of money in Vegas. So I have a feeling this may be the last year we do it in Vegas. This next year. But we have a sort. Oh, that was the other thing. Oh, here's a great one for you. So on stage, right? We had these very nice chairs, and in the VIP lounge, we had a couch. We bought all of that and paid for storage, because buying the chairs and the couch and the storage for a year was gonna cost less than renting all of that stuff from the hotel.
Are you kidding? You're not kidding. I know you're
not. No, I'm not. No. So that's all those chairs and stuff are all in storage, waiting for next year.
What in the world, man?
Because it costs like, not half the price, but almost, like 25% less at least to store that stuff and buy it ourselves.
This takes my breath away, man. Yeah. That is amazing.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's infuriating, at times. Really the more infuriating part though was like having people come at us calling us value extractors. I'm just like, you don't have to come. Yeah, we're not forcing anyone to come hang out and do these things, like.
Okay, so back in the day, I'm a Generation X, and when we used to drive through like family, when you're traveling through Nevada, you try to stay overnight at Reno or Las Vegas because it was a cheap place to stay, and it came with dinner, like a massive buffet and a massive breakfast buffet for free. It just comes with the room.
Yeah.
It used to. So I'm in the Uber going from Las Vegas to the airport because I'm leaving. And I bring this up to the Uber driver, and she's like, "Oh yeah, these casino cities aren't like this anymore." She said that they used to be run by the mob, the mafia. Okay. And they're no longer run by the mafia. They're run by corporations. Well, that explains it.
Yeah. Worse than the mafia.
Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it right there.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Well, how about that for an intro?
Yeah, there you go. Welcome to our show.
Yeah. Well, we're here to talk about the Grays Currencies, pTGC and UFO. And I know that you are, I think you and RG have some exposure. And we just wanted to have you on and just have a conversation about them, like find out where you're at with them, what you know about them and what you think about them, and just have a conversation. So like, do you have questions?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know that I have questions. I know I have a learning curve, which became very apparent to me because I recently, I bought some pTGC, I think after you or, I can't think of his name, the founder.
The Gray, he's in the chat.
Okay, so yeah, so it goes by the Gray. Okay, so someone came on with RG, and it might have also been Coach X. I can't remember who.
Could have been Coach X. I think the Gray, the founder, was on perhaps with Coach X and RG.
Okay, so yeah, so after listening to that, because I honestly I very rarely watch content, period. Like, I don't watch TV or movies. I'm not into it. I don't have the time. Like, I'd rather be doing many other things. I very rarely watch crypto content. And a lot of it is like, because I have to, I'm the producer for all of the Discourse Syndicate shows, right? Like anything RG is doing, like I'm behind the scenes doing the thumbnails, running the show, getting the guests, like making sure all that's happening. So, it was one of the first times I actually was like sitting, like very intently listening to what's going on with pTGC and UFO. And, it was enough for me to be like, oh, you know what? Like I have, you know, I have a fun bag, right? Like I've got all my core coins and I feel very secure in what I have there. So I've got a little, you know, like, hey, I'm just going to play around with this, right? So I exchanged some tokens for some pTGC, and not anything that's a Richard Hart coin, by the way. Because I would never, like, I'm not never. I mean, I really at this point still refuse to sell any of those or swap them for things. I'm still learning. Like, I'm gonna have to someday, right? But it, you know, I was like, oh, this is, you know, this sounds like something that's interesting. I liked how tied to Richard Hart's core tokens they are, and the whole idea of, you know, a rising tide raises all ships, and that because of the liquidity web, which I don't completely understand, or like, you know, the more I hear about liquidity and like doing it myself, right? Like I've done LP positions here and there, just kind of like getting my toes wet and like learning about it and figuring out how that all works. You know, but just knowing that it is tied intricately to Richard Hart's ecosystem, like that is awesome to me. I think that that makes a lot of sense. I learned the hard way about the tax that's on the token.
Did you have to transfer it to another wallet?
Yes. Yeah. Because I was, we're doing, so Coach actually donated some pTGC for this upcoming, actually tomorrow. So tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, Chris, Canadian Grateful, and myself are doing the 4th installment of the Pulsechain Trivia Night. Right. So every like once a month we do this Pulsechain Trivia, and we have a bunch of donors, you know, donate different tokens. So pTGC is going to be one of them. And I, you know, I just felt so silly because I didn't have our donation address for the show at the time. So I sent Coach just one of my addresses. I was like, hey, just send it here. And then I didn't tell him this, but like in my head, I was like, okay, he can send it to me. I'll send it to the donation address. And then the donation address will send it to the person that's going to receive it, you know? Well, I did thankfully. And hey, note to everybody, always do test transactions, no matter you know, what the token is or what you're doing. Luckily, I just did a small like transaction of you know, like a certain number of tokens, and sent that to the donation address wallet, you know, before I sent the big chunk of it. So I sent, you know, like this number of coins, and then I look and I see that it shows up that it came through, but it's like not as many coins. I'm like, what did I do wrong? You know, like what happened here? And then I don't remember which chat I asked in, but somebody, or I think it was actually Chris himself. I was like, oh, I sent this, but it shows that you got this many and I sent this many. So he explained to me how pTGC works, and the fact that it has that tax. And you know, the one thing that I thought about when I saw that, I thought, what a brilliant holding tactic. Like that, having that kind of tax on something, it really makes you want to not move it or do anything with it. You're like, I just want to keep this in this wallet and not do anything with it. So that was very, very interesting.
The pTGC and UFO holders are some of the most diamond-handed holders in probably all of crypto.
Makes sense.
Because we just don't want to move tokens around, you know? Yeah, and many of us learned the same lesson. You know, we bought some pTGC. Now I got to move it to cold storage, and then, you know, just nuked 5%. Yeah. And it, you know, it's 5% that I look at it like an investment in your investment. So it's not like the 5% goes to a founder allocation or anything like that. It all pretty much stays in the system. You know, actually like 3% stays in the system where only 2% can be extracted. Because you've got, and I don't know if you know this, but this is one of the, I call it the alien tech. You got for pTGC, this only applies to pTGC. UFO has its own alien tech, but you have 3% that stays in the system, and then 2% goes to holders and stakers. So at most 20% of the entire fee, or is it, you know, 40% of the entire fee can be ever extracted from the system, because the rest of it's staying in. It's going to add LP, it's burning tokens and going to the DAO, and the DAO always does benevolent things with the fee that comes into the treasury. So Yeah, there's always more coming in than there is going out.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So what kind of questions do you have about pTGC and UFO? Anything specific?
Tell me more about UFO, because I mean, I just learned that about pTGC from utilizing it, and I think that same day that I bought pTGC, I did get a little bit of UFO as well. But yeah, I honestly just like out of the loop in terms of like, what are the bullet points? Like, why did I end up getting some of it? Like, what sounded so good to me that I was like, yes, this is a good idea. Remind me.
You got some UFO because you can bond it with your RH tickers.
Okay.
You can pair it. You can put some of your RH tickers to work. And like what a lot of people have done is they've taken half of their UFO and paired it with RH tickers, because literally just by holding UFO right now, you're earning 5 times more APY than people that are LPing with those RH, the RH coins. You want to make sure that you use the DApp when you're doing your pairing. Otherwise, you won't be earning anything. If you do pair with an RH coin, you're going to be earning Pulse as a reward. But if you just hold UFO, you'll earn UFO in reflections. So that's why you got UFO, so you can pair with some of the RH stickers that you got.
Brilliant.
And okay, let me see if I covered everything on that. Okay, there is the reason that so many people are earning, that the people that are earning reflections are earning so much, is because at the beginning of UFO, many people got excited about LPing and they jumped into the LP pools, and those tokens are excluded from receiving reflections. So the people that are simply holding are earning all the reflections. And I want to show you something. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I want to show you something about UFO that is pTGC has a superpower and UFO has a superpower. We're going to skip right past pTGC superpower and go to UFO superpower. I'm looking for a slide that I'm going to bring up. Okay. A little explanation before we pull up this slide. When you take some UFO and pair it with Pulse, for example, on the DApp, pulsetgc.com, you're immediately going to begin earning Pulse from the 3% of UFO has a 6% fee. 3% goes to LP providers. So you will immediately start earning Pulse for that LP. When you enter the LP, your wallet is assigned what's called a share rate, a UFO share rate. It's not like the Hex shares. It's different, but it's dependent on how much UFO you put into the pool. So if you put like 1 million UFO into a pool, you're going to be assigned 1 million UFO shares. Am I talking over your head?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Just want to make sure you're tracking.
Yeah.
Because I can probably talk. I'm not great at explaining things and making sure that people understand along the way.
Yeah.
So if you put a 1 million UFO into an LP, you're going to be assigned 1 million UFO shares. If you put 999,000 UFOs into an LP, you're going to get 999,000 UFO shares.
Right.
So those UFO shares are like a bookmark, and they determine how much rewards you get, because what's going to happen is that we know from providing LP that you're going to end up with more or less of one of those tokens because of impermanent loss.
Right.
And UFO has a history of going down, being bought up through that liquidity pool. And so many of us have incurred that impermanent loss, but the UFO share rate that we have remains fixed. So if you entered a 1 million UFO in that pool, you still got 1 million UFO shares. You're still earning as much yield as you were at the beginning. But here's a little experiment that I did, and this illustrates why the UFO share rate is a superpower. Because, and here's this 1 million UFO example, and this is literally a wallet that I have. I checked it. I did this experiment a few weeks ago. It now has 300,000 UFO in it, not 1 million that I began with. Why? Because I have impermanent loss. So it was $7.40 worth of UFO. And of course, it has to be $7.40 worth of PLS. The reason I did this experiment is because I wanted to do it. It's a thought experiment. If I wanted to unpair this UFO from the PLS, and then I changed my mind and decided that I really want those shares back. I enjoyed those Pulse rewards, and I really want to have a million UFO shares. Well, if I unpaired and decided that I wanted to do that, to go back into that LP and get those 1 million shares back, I'd have to buy 700,000 UFO and 435,000 Pulse for an additional $34. Do you follow that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So, that speaks to, the people being in the Grays Currencies being diamond handed. They're not just diamond handed about their tokens, pTGC and UFO, but also about their PLP, because, the people that, got those early share rates and that are getting those early share rates like right now are going to be diamond handing them, because we suspect that in the future, those share rates are going to become highly valuable. Yep. And the Grays is in the chat, and he says the UFO is a farm built on Pulsex, bonding UFO to all RH tokens. Large players can add LP in the farm, and all the LP providers are adding value to UFO, providing APY to UFO holders and making pTGC deflate.
Nice.
Yeah, UFO burns a lot of pTGC. We're very thankful for it. Well, what else? What other questions can we answer for you?
I have kind of a random question. So how did UFO come about? Like, you had pTGC and like that was the thing, and then who decided that UFO needed to come about, and like how did was it just like the next evolution in the ecosystem, or were like did they come about around the same time, or?
pTGC was launched in October 2023, and UFO was launched in May 2024, about like 6-7 months later. And the person to answer the question about why UFO is in the chat.
Gotcha.
I know that it is an innovative technology, especially because of the share rates, which, are like a bookmark that guarantee the amount of yield that comes to you. And I don't think that has never been done before, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I love this. The comment from the Grays is, they're both pTGC and UFO are designed to incentivize holding long term, which is great. I mean, that's a huge reason why I'm in Hex, and why Hex is my, like the number one thing I seek when I'm purchasing, right? Like when I've got new powder, like it makes the most sense to me. Like I came here
Sure.
for long-term gains. Like I was searching for something to put money into that was going to help me retire. And,
then you found it.
These kinds of things in this ecosystem are, bring a lot of value to people like myself searching for something like that.
Yep. And we believe, from the founder to many of the OG holders in the Grays ecosystem, we have a mindset of being long-term holders. Mm-hmm. And obviously you don't want to be trading these, these fee-based tokens anyhow, because you end up, it'd be death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, for sure.
So are you clear on what you can do with your pTGC? Like, are we done with UFO? I want to make sure that we answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We went straight into the superpower, because there's really only two things you can do with UFO. You can hold it, and then you can LP it. That's pretty much it. pTGC, on the other hand, you can do three things with it. Do you know what those three things are?
I can guess, but go ahead.
You can hold it
to
earn reflections. Then you can stake it to earn staking rewards, and then you can lock it.
Okay.
Did you not know about locking?
I think I didn't know about locking. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that. So staking is easy. Like you just go to the dApp and you stake your tokens. Do you want me to? I mean, I can literally share my screen.
Sure.
Let's
I'm a visual learner, so that's helpful.
Okay. Let me get it pulled up. And so it's pulsetgc.com for the audience. And then we'll go to staking. I should connect my wallet just so I can, because it's an example. Let's see, connect my wallet. Just bear with me, guys. Okay. So this SJ, this is an experimental wallet that I've had, and we will walk through the staking for you. So I'm holding $1 million, just a little over $1 million. I staked $1 million, and then I locked $1 million. Then, of course, you hold it first. That's step one. Then if you want to stake it, you can stake it, and you can stake like literally as much as you want. Like out of $1 million tokens, you can stake as many as you want. And then if you want to lock it, that would be step 3. And let me see here. So if you do decide to stake, there's no time limit. There are no time boundaries at all for pTGC staking, and you can claim your rewards at any time. Like that's almost 6,000 tokens right here. I can claim them right now, and they'll go straight to my wallet and start earning reflections.
Nice.
And then, but if I wanted to withdraw my stake, I would pay a 1% fee, which goes to all the other stakers.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah. So you got to be thinking like, well, what's my ROI time on staking tokens, or withdrawing a stake? And it all depends on like your entry point, your entry cost, and volume on the network. But I figure it's somewhere around about 100 days to ROI on the 1% penalty, which is on the principal.
Gotcha.
And
not
then, what's that?
So that's not terrible.
Not terrible at all. And so, like me personally, I'm sure I have ROI on all of my stakes, and I take those rewards and just add them to a stake about once a month. I take my rewards, and it's like compounding and just adding it on, and then they start earning more rewards and more staking rewards. Very
cool. Yeah, the only other what would it call protocol, I guess, that I've and I don't know how or why. I mean, I think I've ignored Fast Abdul for so long that I finally paid attention to him, and he knows what I mean. I got into the ink printer stuff with him, and there's similarities in that you lock things, you stake them, and you get rewards, and it just kind of like cycles, and it's good to know that this that basically after this, like I'm probably going to spend a little more time like looking at the dApp that you guys have built, figuring out how that works. Like it's so, again, I came here because I wanted to set it and forget it and not touch my crypto ever and like have to worry about it, but like there are protocols like pTGC to me, like ink printer. And then a really fun one that I enjoy is the AG project, anti-gravity with dark matter and pink. I love all that stuff. So that's one. Those are like kind of like the 3 things right now that I'm just like, okay, like I have to, go see what's going on in these ecosystems and like, make sure that I'm a little bit on top of it. And it keeps me sharp, right? Like I also don't want to lose my, the edge that I have in crypto, because I know how to use these protocols and I know how to connect my wallets, because when you're going through those motions and you're doing things like that and interacting with dApps, it helps you troubleshoot things, right? Like the more the further you go down kind of that rabbit hole in terms of like working with your wallets and always being safe, of course, like using, revoke.cash and things like that when you need to. It helps keep me able to better help people just getting into crypto. Right. Because like I remember things like, oh, is your internet connection right? Is your wallet on the correct chain? You know, like, are you using the IPFS link, or are you using it through a website? Like, you know, there's so many little pieces that can get screwed up that if you're not doing it, you know, not daily, but like if you're not interacting with your wallets often, you can forget that those issues come up. And then when you've got someone, you know, in your family you're trying to troubleshoot with, your mind is blank because you're not interacting like you should be.
Yeah. I mean, crypto doesn't come, I don't know that it comes second nature to anybody except for maybe Richard Hart.
Right.
You know, right. So those wallet interactions, you raise a very good point. They're important. And some of us, and I think you might have a little bit of this in you also, just kind of like to do something with your crypto.
Yeah.
You know, like claiming staking rewards and locking rewards. For me, it's refreshing. I feel like I'm doing something, and and it, like you said, it gets you into your crypto. It gets you transacting. It keeps everything fresh so you can help, you know, onboard other people if they need it. And it prevents you from getting wrecked too. Yeah. Because I mean, I don't think it would be, actually, now that you're bringing it up, man, I don't think it'd be a good idea if I walked away from crypto for an entire year and just came back and walked right here into my office and decided and was like, okay, I'm just going to pick up where I left off. No, that would not be a good situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So let's go to the third thing, because we mentioned two things so far that we can do with our pTGC. We covered everything that you can do with UFO, but let's cover the third thing with pTGC, which is the locking mechanism. And that the locking is something that not everybody's going to do. It appeals to those people, though, that like to delay gratification, because you're making a time, and this is a time commitment. Like staking, no time commitment. Locking is a time commitment. And you can lock your pTGC from anywhere from 90 days up to 10 years. And the rewards are going to be determined by how long you lock. Like, you lock longer, you're going to keep more of the rewards. And I have a slide for that, SJ, that I could show to you. Let me just get my eyes on it. Then I can pop it up. Here it is. So were you aware of the time locking with pTGC?
No. Yeah, I did not know about it.
Okay. And we'll get to your comment, the Gray, here in just a minute. So you can, if you wanted to lock, you have to stake it first. Then you have your option of locking it anywhere from 90 days up to 10 years, like I just said. So if you locked for 90 days, for example, you would keep 55% of the rewards that come into your wallet. And you're like, well, where do these rewards come from? They come from people that end their lock early. Just think of like in Hex, the early end stake, the EES. Well, this would be for Grays Currencies. We call it an EEL, early end lock. So when people break their contract, they will forfeit. Are you ready for this? 30% of their principal. When you early end lock, you forfeit 30% of your principal. Yeah, which goes to all of the other lockers. So if you're in a 90-day lock, you get tokens into your wallet based upon your share of the locking reward pool. And then when you claim those tokens, you keep 55%. You see it says 55% for a 90-day lock. And then 45% is sent to the dead address, reducing the supply, which is pretty genius. So any locks that are under, 9 years, whenever people claim those tokens, they're actually going to be burning tokens, also reducing the supply, which is pretty sweet. All right, the Grays comment. UFO gives, and I think this is an answer to your question from a minute ago. UFO gives the Grays community the ability to have all the RH tokens we already have in our wallet to work for us instead of just sitting. There you go. Good summary.
Beautiful.
Yeah, good summary. Well, let's see. What else can we talk about? We talked about reflections, staking, locking. We ran through UFO. Have you seen how pTGC has been performing against Pulsechain? I have to show this to everybody.
No, I don't. I don't check charts.
You're not a chart checker.
Not at all.
I was going to ask you, like, so you haven't looked at Dex Screener all day? No.
All week, all month. I don't.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I really should not be a chart checker either. You're amazing then, because you're one of those people that literally can just like set it and forget it, like buy them and just keep them. And you'll hear.
I have a strategy. You know what I mean? Like, I know how much I'm going to sell, when I'm going to sell, and we're not there yet. We're not even close. So, yeah. And it's not much. Like I'm not the kind of person that I learned the hard way, kind of, with a token that was gifted to me. And unbeknownst to me, when I went to sell some, I was a whale in that token and didn't know it, didn't realize it. Sold a tiny bit and then sold some more and saw myself paint a red candle. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I have a large share of this thing and I don't want to do that. Like, I rather would not dump the price down to zero. That was actually a huge learning experience for me in terms of like how like the volume of a token, the liquidity, and like, you know, how all these things play in together, and basically taught me how to be a benevolent whale. Like, I was like, look, I don't want to dump this so that because it was gifted to me, you know, I felt like I needed to be a good steward of it, you know, and that's not for everything in general. Like, you know, like I know I get, like, people get airdrop stuff. Like and yes, to answer that question I saw in the chat, I do have a donation address. You can find it on my YouTube. But you know, I get there's all sorts of shit in that donation address. You know, people, like, it's public, so people just throw whatever the heck they want in it. But this was a large amount of a token that I had never heard of, didn't know about, and was basically just like, okay, well, you know, thank you for your donation. I'm going to sell a little bit of this now. And then, like I said, I learned that, you know, there's other ways to exit your position without tanking a chart. And if I can do that, or if I can just, you know, little bits, instead of like dumping, you know, like thousands of dollars of it in one go, just taking little bits out, you know, like weekly, day, whatever it is, you know, to extract that way at a lower way, DCAing out, basically, right? Like, learn to DCA in, learn to DCA out.
Yep. That's good. Okay, we just touched on the pTGC locking, and I forgot to mention that is pTGC's superpower. The UFO share rate is UFO's superpower, but pTGC, it's the locking. And I should have parked on that for a minute. So I'll just go ahead and explain it right now. There's a difference between reflections and staking rewards, and then locking rewards. The reflections and staking rewards are based on the price of the token today. So whenever somebody buys pTGC right now, let's say somebody buys $1,000 worth. Well, $50 is going to go toward the fee, and 20%, 40% of that goes to holders and stakers. But it's based on the price of pTGC today. So the contract is going to buy a certain amount of pTGC and send it to all the holders and stakers. If price is low, then that contract can buy more tokens. But as price increases, it can buy fewer tokens. But the locking rewards are not built that way. They're based on people forfeiting tokens. Right. Regardless, and it doesn't matter what the price of those tokens are. Mm-hmm. So we speculate that as price runs up, we think people are probably going to at least continue to nuke their locks. And then obviously price gone up. That means that those tokens that they're forfeiting are going to be worth more. So the lockers, I think the lockers stand to, as price goes up, if it totally depends on people unlocking, right? It's not like the reflections that are just as the network works, as the AMM bots are balancing those pairs, everybody's going to receive their reflections no matter what. But the lock and rewards depend on humans.
Right.
But if it continues, we think that the lockers are going to be rewarded pretty handsomely. So
yeah, I love that. I mean, it sounds, nearly identical to staking, right? Like,
yeah.
And those are both like, that's a very attractive component to crypto for me, is that locking mechanism and being like, look, like I'm putting it here. Like I want to see a 10-year return, right? Like that's what I'm excited for. So.
Yep. And it's an option. It's not mandatory. You can set it there or you can skip it. Kind of like the UFO shares. You don't got to LP and lose all your UFO. I mean, that's sad, man. I'll be honest. Like, I'm way down on my UFO. Thank God for UFO shares, though. But some people, they just do not want to. They don't want to do it, and I get it. They bought UFO to hold that UFO, not to lose it in an LP. And they're earning very well from the reflections. So. Let's see. What else can we talk about? We talked about the 20% that stays in the system. Do you know what the other alien tech? You're not going to know what the other alien tech is. I know you're not going to know.
Like another coin in the?
No, it's not another coin.
Like no, yeah. Go
like
ahead.
One of the alien. This is. I say that pTGC has two alien techs, and one of them actually applies to UFO. The one is that there's, like in pTGC, there's 20%, the more stays in the system that can be extracted. But the other one is the AMM bots. And this is what really got me when I learned about pTGC. Before I had even gotten any, I was in the Telegram and they're talking about the AMM bots and how they are arbitraging across the network 24/7, 365 days a year. And I read Robert Kiyosaki's, what's it called? What's the name of Robert Kiyosaki's book? His famous book.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yes. Right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Ever since I read that book, I'm like, I want cash flow. Like cash flow is king. And when I think of those AMM bots like working 24/7, that's cash flow. They're never gonna quit. They never complain. They're always going to be rewarding holders. Even if we didn't have holders, like let's say I was the only holder, they would still be rewarding me because they would be doing their AMM bot thing, sending reflections to the Prairie Banana all day long.
Nice.
And that is what really hooked me into the system. I was like, man, you can't get much better than that, because I mean, traders go to sleep. People that hold crypto, they go to sleep or they go on vacation and then they're not doing anything for, they're not making any trades. But the AMM bots have got the trade.
Oh, yeah. They never sleep.
Yep. And that's alien tech, because the Gray found a way to leverage their activity. Those AMM bots have to pay the fee in order to make their trades. Wow. It's genius.
Well done.
Yeah. Well, AWildSJ. Okay, I have one question for you. You were on one of our streams one time and you told us something about your name. SJ, AWildSJ, something in there. Like, yeah, I think you said what the SJ stood for.
Uh-huh.
I know I'm putting you on the spot. Like, we're on YouTube, not Twitter.
Yeah.
Did it say something like, does the S stand for star or something like that? No. Oh man. Do you remember what that is? You don't remember what it is. All right.
What I had told you at that time?
Yeah. On the spaces. It rung a bell with me and I do not recall what it was.
It wasn't anything Pokemon related.
Pokemon?
That's how AWildSJ came about. Was through reading Sci-Vive. One of the points that Richard makes in there is that if you have a number or a letter close to the beginning of the alphabet, you are likely to be seen more on either searches or lists because you'll show up at the top.
Yep.
So that's why, even though I've never like actually played Pokemon, in the game, there's a occurrence that happens where it'll say a wild Pikachu appears or a wild Squirtle appears or a wild Blah appears. And like, so I just started using it as a funny thing where like anytime I'm in chat, I just say that I appear because AWildSJ appears. But the name is SJ is part of a name of my own kind of creation. Like it takes my birth name. So I'm adopted. It takes my part of my name that my birth mother gave me and the name that my parents that raised me with, and combines those. If I would legally change my name, it's what I would legally change my name to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a mystery. Well, some people know, but
yeah. Okay.
It's kind of fun just being anonymous.
Ominous. So the Gray made another comment here. He says, with the Gray's value generation utility, we monetize the only guarantee the market guarantees, which is up and down movements. True. By putting your assets to work, you can earn APY and make pTGC and UFO more scarce. True statement.
Brilliant.
Okay. All right, I've been directed. Tell her the story of the guy who onboarded me into Hex and why we made APY claimable at any time.
I'm going to go off camera for a second, but I'm listening.
Okay. So the Gray, the founder of the pTGC and UFO, was onboarded by a friend of his that was into Hex and onboarded the Gray into Hex. And at one time, this gentleman had upwards of $1 million or more in Hex value that he couldn't access because it was all staked. And that is one of the reasons that pTGC was built the way that it was built. And the staking in particular was built to be liquid so that people can still access their principal if they need to. So it's like, I look at the pTGC staking as like dynamic staking or liquid staking. You're still going to earn, even though the tokens aren't locked up, they're like softly locked up. I mean, literally the 1% penalty for withdrawing a stake is like, it could be less, but 1% is 1%. It's only one. And that's where the idea for pTGC staking came from, was the founder's experience with his friend's experience, really. So do you have any other questions about the Grays Currencies?
I'm sure I do. I just don't even know what they are yet. You know, I want to play around with the DApp. And I think just getting in there and starting to look at the features and actually like press some buttons is going to lead me to the questions that I need to ask. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. After spending time with you now, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but okay. I think that you are not going to be the type of person that would be interested in looking at moon math.
Correct. I hate when I get asked my predictions too. I'm just like, more
yeah.
than it is now. Like
more. Yeah, that's a good one.
No one knows. I love the analogy that moon math and chart reading is to men in crypto as astrology is to women. What's your birthday? Because it's just, no one really knows. Nobody really, you can't, there's no way to predict any of it. It's exciting, you know? I love it though. Bring it. Bring on the bullishness.
Yeah, bring on the bullishness. It'll happen. I think you and I are similar in that we're very positive about Pulsechain, you know, doing well this cycle. You probably, like me, just don't pay attention to a lot of the drama. And like just diss it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a lot of drama going on right now. Like always.
Yeah.
I don't care. Matter of fact, I don't even want to see it.
Yeah. I've started blocking more people because I just can't. I don't have time for that. I don't want, and I realized that I don't want to even. So blocking now, like before, if you blocked someone, they couldn't see your content. But now you can block someone and they can still see your content. They just can't comment on it. So that's kind of really changed my the way that I see the block button, because in the past I didn't want to block people because I was like, you know what, I'm such a positive force. I want people to see my content. Even if you're being a jerk, you know, even if you're coming at me sideways, I still want you to be able to see what it is that I'm saying and what, you know, the messages and the signals that I'm putting out there in the world. So I didn't block, I muted for a long time. But recently I've been like, nope, you can still see it. But I don't want to hear a damn thing coming out of your mouth because it's FUD, because it's negative, because it's a lie. It's like, I don't need that. So I've a lot more liberal with my block button these days.
Okay. You know, one of the things that I use is the lists. I make lists of people.
I need to use that more. That's smart.
And then I can just go straight to the list. And if it's somebody that I like that might be even a little too chatty, too many posts, there's a little thing up there where you can say you can select see fewer posts.
See fewer posts. Yeah, I've used that too.
Yeah, but you know, I think Pulsechain is going to do. I think it's going to do well. I think it's going, you know, where everybody would like it to go, and so all the FUD and all that stuff. I don't got time for it. No time for it. Wow, no BS token. It has been wow. I don't know if I've seen anybody so active in a chat before. I'm going to read some comments here. Mechanically driven volume equals a way to have a utility with zero human interaction needed. If you have a utility that no one needs, you have no utility. Whoa. All right. You can't see what I'm doing right now, but I'm screenshotting. Tales Dreams, good afternoon. Nice to catch live. Thanks for jumping in. Yeah, okay, so Zen's friend had tons of hacks all locked, and pTGC was designed, even if you have everything locked up, you can tap into your yield at any point without touching your initial. There you go.
That reminds me of Texan way back in the day. Like I worked for the Texan team, and that was one of the mechanics in Texan token, was that you would be able to scrape your yield as you were locked as time went on. RAP. I don't know what happened to Texan token, but
yeah, I don't know either.
So yeah, that's a very cool feature. I like that.
Yeah, love it. All right, SJ, it has been fun and super fun, and it was a pleasure to see you again. And thanks everybody for joining up.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
Oh wait. Oh wait, no, I lied. I was gonna show you something. I actually think I replied to you on a thread about a squash that I'm growing.
Did you? Well, I'm not great at looking at my notifications.
All right. Tomorrow, keep your eyes out. Tomorrow I'll post a post, and it's UFO.
Does it look like a UFO?
It's a saucer squash, yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, I do want to see that. All right, and I remember one thing.
I was going to show one, but I took them into the house.
I want to see it. I might use that in some marketing.
I'm all right with that. They're tasty and delicious. That's my saucer.
You might make number go up. Hey, two things before we go.
Sure.
Did you know that we're doing can I put it this way, a promotion? Like until the end of our Spaces call tonight. Let me see if I can recall this. If you buy $5,000 or more of pTGC, and it has to be in even increments, you're going to get, and you have to do it on, go to pulsetgc.com. This is for the viewers mainly, SJ. But if you go to not PulseTGC, go to the main Twitter account, which is I don't even recall it.
Ooh.
You got to find the main Twitter account, and it lines you out how to do it. But you got to buy like $5,000 even on a certain, on a certain place, and then you will get all your fees back. You get your 5% fee back. That's pretty cool. And that's the DAO, the pTGC DAO, that allows us to do that.
It's to help you out here. It's the Gray 369, I think, is the.
Thank you, SJ.
Yeah, I see one of the posts there about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, you didn't know this, but I'm writing a book about the Grays Currencies.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it's going to have all the technicals in it and lots of memes.
Nice. As it should in crypto.
Yeah. So there's going to be like a picture on every page. Yep.
Very cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. It was fun, and we'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.